Well, you're on the last DVD, and we left you with a cliffhanger on electrical estimating. This is DVD number 4 of 4, and you're like, and I asked some of the guys after the recording on that last DVD, okay, what do you think, what are you feeling? And here's some of the comments I got. 1, frustrated. Kind of sobering about business. So if you're not in business, a lot of the stuff is like, well, I don't know if I want to go into business. And that's okay to know this. Some of you guys are already in business, like, yeah, this is really what's happening in there. Hopefully I didn't talk you out of into business. Concerned. Like, man, I'm getting worried here, confused. And also I'm in limbo. I'm not quite sure what to do. I got information overload, and I'm just like, I'm just on the 3rd DVD, I feel like I'd have been better off if I hadn't taken any of the course, got any of the information, a little confused. And Mike Holt, who's my left-hand side who does my graphics, he's not in the screen here, he says, you know, Mike, one of the things that I do when I used to take your DVDs, he's the guy who does all our graphics and all our books. You've seen the graphics. He says, I have to go back on the DVDs 2 or 3 times. Brian, have you gone back on our DVDs multiple times?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Michael, I know you're not there yet, that you've been going over it multiple times, but you need to do that on all the material to really, you go through the one time, it's like an introduction. You need to go back over it all over again. And as I ask people, like, well, what are you feeling? Like Mike Holt, who does my graphics, he goes, well, he says, I'm just confused. I'm like, what are you confused about? Well, I'm not quite sure how to do all these things and all the steps. And as I try to inquire, well, exactly, do you not know how to do a takeoff? No, I got the concept of mechanics. Do you not know how to look up a price by calling supply houses? And you not know how to go to NECA and like get lost in NECA manual. And no, I understand that. He says, I guess what I'm at is I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. And this is where we want to take you to the next level. Now watch this. You might say, well, they didn't have computers years ago. How did they bid jobs? Years and years ago. Well, listen, that was okay not to have computer and software and do everybody did it manually. Guess what you had? You had people that took off every lock, nut, and bushing, totaled it all up, look at a pricing catalog, look at a labor account, made the expense, made the totals, and then they gave it to the person. And then they would the tape measure, the tape that would go with the adding machine, and then they would do the second time. These guys would just look at that. It was just like this. These people were just, machines. And everybody competed at the same level. That wasn't a problem. When computers come in, it changes the ball game. You can't afford today. You have a cell phone, you have internet access, you have emails. I get calls from people all the time in business. I say, well, he goes, well, I don't have a computer. I'm like, you're an electrical contractor? You don't have a computer? I says, game over for you. I says, you can just forget about it. But it's not truly game over for him. Because guess what he could do? He could do some switches, some receptacles, a service change. It stays small. His customers, however, maybe want to communicate at a different level. So if you want to stay where you're at and what you've always done, Michael, if you're happy doing exactly that forever, it has worked for you for 3 years. Now, you don't know if you're making any money on a job. We do some job costing, but we really don't know what it costs you to do a job, right?
Right.
You're doing this one job we call the castle job. You got a service change. You got switches, receptacles. You really have no clue what it's going to cost you. You know what you sold it for, not just a matter of, but you don't know if you're going to make money or not. And so and you can run that kind of business, but it becomes harder and harder to be competitive. If, however, you say, listen, I need to do business. I need to bid a job. Listen, we need you to be prepared because somebody might just lay a job on your lap. Say, hey, listen, I'd like you to do this job. And you're thinking, boy, I'd love to do that job. But it's now out of your element of the little games that you've been playing, so much for a switch, so much for a receptacle. And now you don't want to look embarrassed by giving a crazy, crazy price that's high or low. You don't want to get a job and then, of course, lose everything. So you have a lot of stress. Listen, business is stressful already. You need to remove stress. You need to be in control. You need to know what it costs you and whatever it takes to get there. You're probably putting gas in your vehicles. It's like being in the tire business. And no, I don't want to spend money on the impact wrenches. I just go ahead and get a tire iron. And the way we change our tires, we use a tire iron. How long is that guy going to stay in business? How efficient can that be? How productive can it be? So I'm going to go to Bill Ruffner, who's with TurboBid, and Bill is representing, and I'm not going to say he's representing, but he's kind of representing the people who sell software. He's an electrical contractor. He's a software developer. He's been doing this for 5 years. He's worked his program to make sure it worked with our program there. His numbers are not going to be the same as we worked on that one spreadsheet, but we'll make sure that the textbook and the software that we'll be including with the what do you call it, the trial software, that you'll be able to take the residential plans and you'll be able to sit down and actually go through the software and do the bid, both residential and the commercial bid, that kind of give you some practice, because you really need to get the practice before you ever consider making a decision and where you're going to be taken to. So let's talk about the concept of estimating. What do you do? Well, you do all the beginning. You get the job name, job number, plans, blueprints, all that information gets ready to go, but the meat of the issue is you do the takeoff. Now, yesterday's takeoff, we took off so many lights, fixtures, receptacles, and then we had to take the quantity takeoff, then the bill of material, then the price, then the extension, then the totals, then we had to get into the bid summaries portion and make the adjustments. So, Bill, show us an example, just real quick. We're not going to spend much time. Your software, and let's take a look at what you have right now on the screen.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Here is a takeoff screen where you have your assemblies, and an assembly can consist of multiple items. So you're simply just going into, at least in our program, into a cell and entering in the quantities. You can see we have 5, but it can be whatever you want. We can change that to 7. And you simply go down the line and enter in your quantities. So the takeoff portion is very fast.
Now, show me how, and I know we kind of expanded this in the magnifying view. How would can you show me, how do I find, right now you have all the items in there and you put in quantities.
Yes.
If I do a lot of residential houses,
yes,
can you create something in your program where I can copy this kind of like a template of assemblies and it has a range, a dryer, a swimming pool. In other words, it all gets copied in. Then going back to your screen here, as you're showing here on the screen, then it's just a matter of saying, okay, everything is defaulted to 0.
Correct.
And then you just put in 5 of these, 7 of these, so you can actually create a residential bid that's all in there. Michael, do you understand that concept?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that you have a template of everything could ever go in a house. Now, that doesn't mean you don't add items, but it's a lot easier to using a template. Bum, 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 bum. Now, when it comes to some certain commercial jobs, that if you're going to be doing similar jobs over and over again, you do the one job, you create the template of all the assemblies, that's the most common assemblies that's going to be used, you drop it into that, and now you just change the quantities.
That's correct.
All right, show me how do you add an item? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. In ours, we go to Select Assemblies.
Okay.
On the left-hand side, you'll see all of the assemblies that are appearing in our takeoff screen. On the right-hand side is the database of assemblies that we have created already.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of finding what you want and then pulling it over into the left-hand side, and that will add it to your takeoff screen.
Add something. Can you?
So here we can click into assemblies. I'm just going to keep clicking into the top one.
Give me an EMT assembly. That'd be good. Let's say I want to do an EMT ceiling light.
I'm going to have to go down just a little bit more. Here we go. Well, let's do this one here. So it's simply a matter of finding what you want and dragging it over to the left-hand side. And you can see right here it's added it.
Okay, what is in that assembly? Can you show me what's physically in that assembly?
Sure, we can double-click on the assembly, and here is your what we call an assembly maintenance screen. So you have all of your material, you have your quantities. I can expand this a little bit. We have our labor units and pricing. Same principle that you can add items into your, let me move this down a little bit.
So you have the ability, it's kind of like to drag and drop.
It is, and the same principle for your assemblies and editing assemblies. You just find what you want from your item database on the right-hand side, drag and drop it in, and you'll see there it's added.
Where was it added?
Right at the bottom here. It says 0.
Chrome, push button. Okay, you added a push button to that one assembly.
Correct.
So you find the items, you drop it into the assembly.
Yes.
Now, your software, what kind of assemblies, how many assemblies do you have already built in your software?
We have close to 20,000 assemblies created.
Wow. And residential, commercial,
residential,
MC
commercial,
cable, EMT.
Yes. Yeah, and that's database maintenance. We try to put in what we can, but we're from a specific area, so we have things that are done a certain way in the Chicagoland area. That's why it's important for people to take ownership of their database and their assemblies.
Now you have the assemblies for our estimating residential plans,
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you have assemblies for our estimating commercial plans.
Yes, sir.
So when the guys when you get the book, I mean, right now you're actually on DVD, you'll be able to go to that section of the book, you'll be able to do the takeoff, and you'll be able to use the software, and all those items are in there. So you kind of like gives you the practice at that point. If nothing else, you're going to be able to, in the text, with the residential and the commercial, you can be able to do it manually. We're going to give you exercise how to do it manually and do the work. But then if you choose to say, I want to do it with the software will be available. Then you can experiment and you can practice how software genetically works. Now, Brian, is what Bill is saying, is that pretty much now you've used a lot of different softwares. Which ones have you used?
I've used AccuBid. I've used Vision InfoSoft, has one called Electrical Bid Manager. I've used Quantum by ERI. Actually, I've used quite a few different softwares. And you and I had talked the other day, and I said, hey, Mike, it takes a little while to even figure out if you like a piece of software. And that's one of the great things is Bill and I were talking, and most of the software vendors will offer you some type of a trial period where you can use the software. Bill's actually including his with the DVD so that the guys can try it. ERI, I think, is going to include something or make it available for a trial. I think almost everybody out there's got a way you can just say, hey, here's something to try. I think software is something that's kind of personal. We all have our way that we take off our bids, and it's our way, and it's our special way. And I think software is the same way. I don't think every software fits every person or every kind of job. And I think something that the people just need to get into. They need to try it. They need to give it a little time. You're not going to sit down the first day and blow out a bid in an hour and a half. It's a funny story I think I shared with you earlier. What sold me on software was I was in a guy's office one day, and he was working on an estimate, and I looked at him, and I'm like, "Whoa, what are you working on?" He's like, "Oh, I'm using my software." And I watched him do this bid, and I'm like, "Wow, I've got to have that," because it would have taken me 5 times longer to do that than it took you. And at that point in time now, see, I was able to I didn't have the opportunity to watch this video to see, oh, wow, these are all the options and the features. And, somebody would just say a price on software and it'd blow my mind. I'm not spending money on software to do bids. I can do it on a piece of paper with a calculator. And when I saw, wow, the amount of time this is going to save me, the level of estimating productivity I'm going to be able to reach by having this tool, it's like you said, the tire iron, at the tire shop. I mean, I felt, man, I could be like the NASCAR guys if I've got this software. So, yeah, there's definitely.
But what I'm saying, software is pretty generic in application. You got material items,
everything's
you got
the same.
assemblies, you got the job name, the customer name, you have the ability to produce reports and output. Bill, your software, you've designed it mostly for the residential guy that does residential houses, multifamily, and light commercial. Is the most of your customers the type of people that are using your software?
The bulk of them. I mean, we do have industrial customers. It's really a matter of the database. The base application, it gives you a format to be able to identify and account for
costs. You can
do
plumbing with the software.
Anything. Actually, we're in the middle of creating the plumbing database right
now.
now.
So the application, so you understand, software works generically. Son, we didn't get into, by the way, Bill, why don't you just show us how you can go ahead and add the profit and the overhead. I think it's kind of, if you want to show a screen there where you show that number there.
Sure.
Son, I mean, well, Bill's working this out, and you're kind of like our target customer, a guy who's probably going into business or he's been in the business for a while. He's making okay, he's surviving, but people are going to, what are you feeling? Do you feel that you're going to have to learn how to really, I'm not trying to put any words in your mouth. I'm trying to look for what are these guys that are watching this DVD, some of these guys might be feeling?
I want to be a professional contractor and provide the best service that I can, and I need to have the equipment and tools at my disposal to provide that service. And I feel, going back on yesterday's software, information or recording, mechanical, not going to happen. Spreadsheet, not going to happen. I need something I can get to right away. I don't feel confident in providing my prices and being comfortable, and it just doesn't seem professional to me. So I need to have a program that I want to rely on. So.
But how long, Bill, has Michael had TurboBid? That you offered it to him?
Yes.
How long? Bill, do you know?
I think about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe even more.
Maybe even more.
Right.
So
when I was first presented to it, I mean, my focus is trying to just get work, and I don't have time. I didn't think I had the time to put forth the effort to learn this software, and being exposed to all these numbers and calculations and formulas and information.
So you had the
overwhelming.
software because Bill made it available to you for free because you're Mike Holt's son. And I've been talking about it. And I told you, what do you got to do? Go back and watch the estimating DVD. Am I right or wrong about that?
Right.
I need you to get back there. I need you to learn how to use the software. Okay, now you happen to be in this class because we're recording it. What do you think would have happened if you weren't in this class? You think you would have been motivated to get the software you had loaded in your computer that you never installed, and you just would have just carried on your merry way?
Nothing would have changed.
No matter what I said, no matter how much I'm trying to impress upon you.
Nope.
Brian?
I think something that, that's a prime example. It's an unknown, and yes, there's definitely going to be a learning curve. There's going to be a time investment as well as the money investment. But until you are able to have a video that Michael is now involved in this, and we're saying, hey, we're making the video so that you guys can understand, you're not going to be motivated to put it in. And if I could say anything to the guys, you're not going to believe the increase in productivity that you will experience and accuracy until you do it. And it's just one of those things. You got to bite the bullet. You got to sit down and do it. And I mean, there's so many things we could never possibly cover in one video. All the things you can do with the software, as you learn how to use it.
Well, let me ask you, could you imagine going back to not using an estimating software
I
program?
absolutely would not do it.
You want to just throw up your hands?
I would do
and say,
service
Well,
work.
I'm not
it's
gonna
obvious.
continue.
Michael
service
says,
work.
hey, he's not going to do it manually,
Yeah.
and he's not going to use the spreadsheet.
No way.
So he's going to have to stay what he's doing and be unknown and be uncomfortable and not sure what's going on, or he's going to have to, at some point, Michael's maturing. We've all seen him.
Yeah.
Right? He's growing up. He's gone from a young guy into a young professional person, and he's now recognizing. And I'm hoping you guys that are watching this DVD, when I say young, I don't necessarily mean age-wise. I mean, you're maturing in the sense of a business. At some point you realize, you know what? By the way, Brian said this, and I think Bill's alluded to also. This is not something you're going to sit down and in 10 minutes, hey, how do I cut and paste this? How do I drag and drop this off inside here? I want to get, no. It's something you decide, okay, I want to be an electrical contractor. I got to get my license. You decided that. That means that you had to get your journeyman's license. You had to get your contract license. You had to buy the books. You had to take the classes. You had to study. You had to do everything you had. And if that's what you want to be as an electrical contractor, then you have to finish that off. You got to get the truck. You got to get the ladder. You got to get the cordless drills. You got to get the websites. You got to get the cell phone. You got to get the gas, the insurance. You got to have money in the bank. You better get with somebody who knows numbers so they can help you out. Like, how do I figure the overhead for me? How do I figure the profit margin? How do I track the jobs? How do I bid the jobs? Okay, this is real. This is really a business. And as I was talking to some of the camera guys here, Scott, he was saying, man, he says, this is very sobering. You got to make a decision. I'm going to be a business person. Once you make the decision, that's your goal. The number two is, what's your plan? How are you going to get there? What are you going to have to do? Now, how much time will it take you to learn how to use estimating software? Well, you could spend 1 hour a day over the next year, and you just kind of touch it and then you leave. You touch and leave, you touch and leave. Or you can say, you know what? Friday night, 7 o'clock, when I get done, I'm going to spend 4 hours on it till 11 o'clock. Saturday morning, I'm spending all day, Sunday, all day. And I mean, I'm going to spend 20 hours this weekend, and I'm really... Now, I don't know how a lot of vendors are, but Bill, you provide a lot of video training with the software.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
So if I want to do something, then it tells you, okay, and then you give them to the exercises. You
Right.
provide like anybody else. So you have to make a decision. I think you recognize the reality of what's going on here. If you're going to be a business person, you're going to have to get software. We'll talk about, well, how do you select software? What is, you know you need it if you're going to be in business. But how do you make that decision? And we're not going to get into this DVD as how you add assemblies and material and items because every vendor is different. And we're not going to be showing how Bill does it in TurboBid because he does it similar to everybody else, but they're all different. So we're not looking at that. Michael, is there anything that you feel that you would, do you feel like now, okay, I'm going to make the investment? Do you think you're going to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
I want to be a successful businessman, and I want to do all the efforts that I need and all the steps necessary.
Brian?
You know, Mike, I think success is directly related to confidence. And I think one thing that the right tools do is it gives you confidence that you don't have any other way. You know, we talked about it briefly, I think, yesterday during the video, and I've talked to you about this in the past. When I do a bid, I know to the dollar how far I can cut my price back before I'm uncomfortable. I don't have this knot in my stomach when they say, hey, listen, we'll give you the job if you can come down this much. And I go, I'm not sure if I can come down that much. You know, no, I know, absolutely. And I can decide, you know what, I've got plenty of work. I don't want to take it for that profit margin. Or I can say, you know what, we're really slow right now. I can take it for that and still make some money.
You're making money.
And I'm happy with that.
And let's think of the logic here. And it's something I talked to Michael about. Are you busy or are you slow? If you're slow, then what happens to your prices? Your prices go down, but they can't go below your costs. You still got to make money.
Right.
But if
Right.
you're slow, I mean, if you're busy, hey, but watch, if you're busy, raising your price doesn't mean you can make more money, because now you got to hire somebody, you got to work overtime,
right.
you got inefficiencies, and people, you know, so you got to really consider what's going to happen, what's going on, and it gives you the critical thinking and the opportunity to make those decisions.
That's right. That's exactly.
All right,
exactly
I'm going to go ahead. We're going to just kind of fade out here in a second, and then we're going to pop up, and we're going to talk about software estimating systems and what should you know if you're going to be selecting one. Anybody have anything else that we should say to these guys?
Well, to me, just the key is really to be able to have a method, whatever it is, to identify and account for your cost. You need to know what your break-even cost is. What is this job going to cost me to do?
All right.
That's key.
Yes, son?
What is the average contractor, percentage-wise, that doesn't have a software, who wings it? I mean, how common is it that people don't use this common sense to be using the proper equipment?
Well, I would say that 80% of the electrical contractors, Bill, you're in the business, do you think 80% of contractors don't have software?
I would say at least that number.
Okay.
And you have, with contractors, you have contractors starting all the time, people that are tired of being laid off, they're going to go into business for themselves, and it's an investment for these individuals, but it's something that's
most
necessary.
people, Michael, most people are like you, and they're watching this DVD, and they're thinking, I don't know anybody. I mean, there's a small percentage that are using software.
I don't feel confident. I don't like the way it feels. You know, if I'm providing a service and a professional, then I need to know exactly what I'm doing.
You do.
To every single little item.
All right.
I think
Go ahead, Brian.
one other thing that I think is important to remember, we've said this a few times, but I just want to reiterate it, and Bill kind of touched it and then left it, but he said consistent way. You know, you don't do a computer estimate any differently than you do a manual estimate. It's just automated, so you don't have to run the adding tapes. And so you need to make sure that everything you do, you know, don't think that just because you got a computer system now you can throw away the whole estimating process and the takeoff process. Everything has to work the same way. You know, a lot of the estimating programs, Bill's, and a number of the others, they work off of a tab system, and you do everything in order, and you do it consistent, and you do it the same, and that's how you get that confidence that I was talking about earlier, that, yeah, I didn't forget anything, and the price is rock solid, and I can adjust it in these ways.
Well, what's also nice about computers is that once you create your database, you get your pricing models, you get it all worked out together, then it just goes that much easier.
That's right.
You just, okay, I'm bringing these items in, quantities, change it aside here, the profit goes there, everything else done. I drop down the labor, okay, this is a journeyman electrician, it's a master electrician, it's going to be a foreman, it's going to be an apprentice, you drop that inside there, overhead, I know what it's going to be, it's just boom, 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 boom.
Well,
it's
you know,
very easy.
We all have a tendency to do our work the same way. So like, you know, one guy, when he puts in an outlet, he's going to use the same materials to do an outlet, whereas a guy across town might use something just slightly different. Once you get all your assemblies and stuff done, every time you do an outlet, you just drop your assembly in there, and you don't have to worry about it. And you can literally, on, you know, the jobs, you can actually order material based on the bill of materials you generate with your bids, how you should be doing it.
Yeah, the reports that you can generate from software and pretty much every software application, It's a big time saver as well with your bid package, your proposals, your quantity takeoffs, and like Brian was saying, with your material. Now, manually, imagine putting together that list of materials. Okay, I got the job. Now I need to order the material. That's a big block of time.
And what if the contractor says, hey, Bill, I want it in MC cable, not EMT.
Sure.
Now, if it's manual, you're just like, you know,
Well,
it blows your mind.
What if they say, hey, listen, we decide we want to change that we're going to make alternates, we want to remove this, we're going to add something.
Delete 5 outlets, add 15 more fixtures. You know, on a manual estimate, that's a huge process. And on a computer, it's just a matter of changing a few numbers.
All right. Brian, the software you use,
yes,
Quantum, I think is right?
Yep, Quantum.
And you have a feature in there where you can actually do electronic takeoff. Now, we've been talking about a manual takeoff. This is electronic takeoff. But tell us about electronic takeoffs and what's going on and how that works out.
Well, some of the different software out there, you know, there's a couple of different things. There's electronic takeoff, but some of the software out there actually allows you, when you do the takeoff, and this wouldn't necessarily apply to like a single page or a 2-page plan where it's just as easy to do the manual takeoffs. And on-screen versus not on-screen is probably the first place we need to go with this. When you get into a little bit larger jobs and you're having to print all your own blueprints, that costs money. And, you know, we talked about, hey, you know, the contractor, he might only get one of the 10 jobs, and if you're bidding all 10 of those, and if it's only $50 to get a set of blueprints, 10 times 50 is 500.
That's right.
You do that every month, $500 a month. Well, that's a truck payment. That's a lot of money. We got to the point where on, you know, some of our projects, we're looking at a couple hundred pages for a plan set. Well, if I'm looking at a couple hundred pages at $1 a page and I'm bidding 2 or 3 or 4 of these a month, I mean, my blueprinting bill's ridiculous. So you're like, oh, I'll go buy a plotter. Well, it doesn't really fix anything. So what's happened over the last 5 years or so is people have realized the value of not generating all that waste. It's, you know, you could get all eco-conscious and everything, but I think it's really a financial decision. So they've come up with what's called on-screen takeoff. And you receive your plans digitally just like you would from the contractor on the CD or a thumb drive or whatever you would normally get. And you put it into the software, and you're able to actually pull it up on the screen and actually, same process still, you're still going through the plan and you're clicking on your items and you're marking them off. And the nice thing with software is that you can actually count your assemblies as you're taking the stuff off. So there's no transferring, less opportunity for error.
And Bill, you have that feature.
We do.
You have that option.
Right.
That's right.
Now the nice thing with what Quantum provides is that you have the symbol recognition, correct?
That's right. That's
So
right.
Let me
larger-
explain that. Bill and probably everybody else has the ability where you can do an online takeoff. You're not having a paper and color highlighting, but you kind of put your hash marks there, and it counts. Okay, you click on this, and this is going to be ceiling light fixtures. You follow what I'm saying, Michael? And then you kind of go in and you just kind of electronically just boom, 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 boom. And as you do that, it marks it, and then it counts it. That's your online takeoff. The other feature is symbol recognition, where you identify a symbol, and then it automatically calculates all the symbols. And as Brian was saying, he has 200 pages on a blueprint. Can you imagine the size of that blueprint? And he's bidding that job? Well, you know, you really separated the boys from the girls here. You know what I mean? Or the big boys from the big boys. So now he needs to be able to reduce his time. So you want to show us some online symbol recognition takeoff?
Yeah, absolutely. What we've got, and I'm not going to go into a lot of the mechanics here, but the general idea here, I've got one of your commercial plans. And of course, down here is just a couple of fixtures that I just threw on there so that we could count them. But what we'll typically do is we'll go into a plan and we'll go to the symbol legend first, and I'll actually add all the assemblies based on the symbol legend that I know that I need to take off. There's a couple different methods to do it. That's how I happen to do it. Then I'm just going to go to my plan, and I like to just go to the bigger screen so it's a little easier for me to see it. And
you have a large monitor?
I actually use a dual monitor setup. I don't have, like, it's not huge.
You don't have a huge one?
No, I have a 24-inch.
Really?
Oh yeah, and it works well. You know, I have friends that do the 36-inch monitors.
Okay.
That's a big expense. It seems to work fine for me with the 24-inch. I don't have a problem. So. Dual screen is definitely nice. But you pull the plan up, and you can see here where I actually already counted the recess cans. But I'm going to show you how. I'm just going to count the lay-ins here.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Real quick. But what I'm going to do is, okay, I know that I want to count this fixture right here, and I want to count all of that fixture. So I'll come down here to my auto find, and what it's going to ask me is, hey, what plan page do you want to count on? If I had, say I had 50 pages that I wanted to count this same fixture on.
It'll count all 50 pages.
I'll just check all 50 pages, and then I say next. And it's going to actually pull up a picture of my symbol page, okay? And in this case, it's the only page that we have, so we're going to use this as our symbol page.
Okay, that would have been the page of the plans that had all your symbols.
It had my symbols, and then I'm going to actually draw a rectangle around what I want to look for, okay? And in this case, you know, this is the fixture I want to look for right here. I'm going to get a pretty tight little circle. It's a little easier if you've got like a trackball or something like that to work with, but so that's basically the fixture we're looking for.
All right, so, okay, now the screen popped up here. What is that showing us?
Okay, if you look, I told you that the red dots I'd already done, but all the little blue dots, we just marked all those fixtures. And, you know, depending on the size of the plan, depends on how long it's going to take to find it, the detail level, and so forth and so on. But what it's actually done now is it's gone through this plan and it's recognized every fixture that matched the criteria that we selected with our little box. And
now, if this is just one little page or 2 pages,
sure, wouldn't have done it that way.
You just would have counted.
Yeah, I would have counted, and what I would have done is down here we got a little count button, and I would have just clicked on the count button, and then I would have run my mouse over and just clicked on whatever I wanted to count on the screen, and I'll show you. We'll just count this air handler.
And Bill, that's the interface program you have.
That's how
right.
it
You
is.
just
That'd be a manual count. So for
you
this,
start getting
just
multiple
click, click,
pages, a little larger. You want it to be able to automate that.
Exactly,
takeoff.
exactly. So then, you know, we would kind of minimize that little screen, and we come back here. If you look up here,
Oh, okay.
it's telling us that we have 19 of those B fixtures, and really it was only 18 because I counted the air handler also. But we have 19 items counted. Now here's another really cool thing about on-screen takeoff, and it doesn't matter whether it's Bill's or anybody else's, but you can actually come in to like a feeder assembly and say I wanted to measure from the meter to the panel. In this particular case, that's what I decided I want to do. So I'm going to.
So you had to pick the feeder.
I picked my feeder.
2-inch PVC.
Sure,
with
I went into
wire.
my thing, and they're all roughly the same, but we can pull it up on the screen here. I can come in here and I pick my pipe, and then I'm going to pick what kind of wire and what fittings I might want to add, and what kind of supports and enclosures and trench, and if there's
Now
any
you do
miscellaneous.
that for each of the feeders, or is it something that's already done?
I can select a pre-built feeder if I want.
Okay.
Typically on the big stuff, I will build the feeder every single time.
Really?
Well, sure. I mean, especially on a big run, there's a lot of variables there. Is it 1 conduit or 2 conduits or 3 conduits or 4 conduits?
Parallel.
It takes just a couple of seconds to go through, and you know, let's just build this one real quick.
Let's build that
Take
one.
2 seconds. So length of run we don't know yet, so we're not going to put that in there, and we're just going to say this is the main run. And I want to pick some 2-inch. And number of conduits once, that's still good. We have PVC 40. We're not going to adjust our labor levels on this particular deal. You know, we've talked about that. You can adjust it if you
Hold
want.
on 1 second. You have
Sure.
labor 1. How many labor levels?
Well,
do you
4
have?
labor levels that are standard. And
Is that
then,
NECA? Does NECA have 4 labor levels?
NECA does not.
Okay.
NECA
All right.
does not. But
Okay.
labor
You have 4 labor levels. What are the 4? Okay, that's
Well, it's
you know,
technical. It's something that you'll learn with the
individual
software.
has individual ways, so we're not going to
Correct.
get into quantum's labor. So I apologize.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
So, and we have a labor. So basically, my labor level is telling me that my labor unit's 4, and it's just going in a slab. I'm not going to do anything special. Here's my cost for my pipe. I'm just going to go in here and hey, I want. Let's just make this a 200 amp single phase. So and it's coming from the meter. So we're going to do copper, and we're going to do some 3/0 here, just because I think I want to use 3/0 copper. And nothing special about pulling a wire. And you notice down here it lets me decide, hey, I want to add 15 feet of wire to make up. And I can change that, or I can do a percentage. However, you know, it's my method, how I like to do it. Fittings, you know, let's go ahead and throw a couple of 90-degree elbows in there, and maybe some expansion couplings if I'm up north. Let's throw a couple of those in there. Supports, there's none. Enclosures, and again, you can just add anything you want to add to it. And if I had to trench it, let's say I'm hand digging it, and it's in a slab, so it's going to be 6 by 6, and I don't really know how much that is. Say I know I got to dig 50 feet. I don't know, whatever. Like I said, you just kind of go through whatever you want. We're going to save the assembly. We got it on here, and I'm going to just pick a color. Pick a color, any color here. So I'm going to pick a color that it's going to show on the print, and I want to use that for the takeoff. Now when I come here, I can just click my measure tool right here. Very important. Didn't select a plan scale. Yeah, and I'm going to go right over here. I should have done that already. I'll put in 1/8 inch scale because that's what we've got. So then we're going to come back here. All right, so I got my plan scale now.
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
This is something that can be intimidating. You're seeing me open this, closing this, go back over here, go back, and like when you first learn, it's like all you got to do is miss. Okay, scale's not there, and you're like,
right.
Scale's not there. Scale's not there.
Sure.
And you're like, because you don't have the little knowledge like, okay, go in and click the scale. So when he's jumping around like that, he's comfortable with it, so it's easy. And that's the hard part of getting software in the beginning is just being able to see how the system is laid out. But once you get past that, it becomes intuitive, and it's not that big of a deal. You see, he's just going, oh, forgot the scale. Well, opened it up, changed the scale, went back in there, and go down the line.
This is where the tutorials are critical. You know, we're guys. We don't like reading instructions. And so you want to think you can just sit down and you can do a bid. And the fact is, and I think I share with you, it took me like a day and a half or something to do my first bid. I was so ridiculous because I just was fighting with it instead of going through step by step. And this is, you know, with the video that we're doing here, with Bill including the plans and your estimating course, these guys aren't going to have to deal with that. They're going to be able to
how
come
long
through
would it
there.
take you now to do that bid that took you a day and a half the first time you used software?
Less than an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, less than an hour.
And that's the thing. It's just a little bit of upfront labor, a little bit of upfront education, but realize you're making an investment, and the better that you get at learning really the whole program, how it really works, you can be adaptive at a much better level. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no problem at all. Okay, so we're going to just say for the sake of argument that we decided we want to run our feeder straight. We didn't want to run it diagonal, but if I wanted to, I could run it any way I wanted to run it. And it's really helpful if there's like a support column or something that's got a lot of concrete shown on the architecturals and you got to go around it. This will just kind of help you measure it. But I went ahead and that's my first, and then I got 46 feet here, and then I'm just going to run it over to the panel. Boom, we added 6 feet there, and then if we go back and look right over here,
Okay.
you know, we're going to have our total.
Does that include the 15 feet?
That's in the wire. It's
That's
got
right,
your
the
makeup for your
46.
wire and everything.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So we're good to go. And
Okay.
now that we're good to go, it's added to our bill of materials. We can go to our summary sheets and our recap sheets, and we're ready to rumble.
All right. I just wanted to kind of show you some different options, you know, different levels, different types of software. All right, let's talk about software-based estimating systems. All right, we're almost done here. And we're going to kind of review a lot of what we've already discussed in just a short couple minutes here. So let's go back to it. Ready for this? Computerized estimating system functions. Guys, let's just kind of brainstorm. Brian and Bill and us will talk about what are the functions. Okay, well, I can put in the information about the owner, the job name, information. Then if I have another job for the same owner, say having to put that information in, it's going to keep that information so I can keep track of where the information is located at. I don't have to like try to find out where is the file is going to be at. I can take it off manually and then input it. I can do on-screen takeoff and just kind of put in the quantities. We can do symbol recognition software that would automatically take off. I can create my own assemblies. I have my own items. I customize it the way I'm looking for it to get done. It'll allow me to do all the adjustments and adding direct cost and overhead and profit and all. We didn't talk about it, but I mean, every software I'm sure has. And yours, do you have one there like job analysis to analyze?
Absolutely.
That's
crucial.
All these different types of analysis to make sure that this seems to be reasonable. And then you have all the reports, lots of reports, and ability to be able to order material and job costing and job tracking. And, so this is a whole package deal. So these are many of the different functions. Did I miss anything as a function? Can you think of anything?
One of the nice things most of the packages have is when you need to get your pricing that you're talking about.
Well, I'm going to talk about pricing in a minute.
Okay.
But it has the function of having pricing, automatic pricing.
Right.
Okay. Let's go on to the second advantage. And by the way, this 8.1 and 8.2, this has to do with the actual textbook. So if you want to go back and reread those sections of the textbook and then kind of put me on pause and then kind of reread it, but I want you to know that I'm just going back into Chapter 8 and reviewing what was already contained in there. All right, what are the advantages and benefits of computerized software? Better use of your time, better control material costs, better project management. It can reduce your overhead. Obviously, it increases your profit business. And Michael, it's something that I've noticed that you've kind of impressed to come to us a little bit, is that it gives you added confidence. You know, and of course, that all, when you get added confidence, that all then creates the cycle of being able to sell the job, being able to walk away from the job, knowing what's good, what's bad, and probably selling a job that maybe you couldn't have before. Maybe not dropping your price where you would have before. So all these things are, it's business. Anything else, guys, that you want to say about advantages and benefits, or the benefits beside that?
I think you pretty much covered them.
Pre-purchase consideration. What do you want to think about before you want to buy it? Well, it's usability. How flexible is it? What are the reports? What are the integration? What does it integrate with? What are the software systems? Hardware considerations. Am I right, guys, that when it comes to hardware, pretty much whatever you have, laptop, computers, and I don't think it's going to work well. Like I have an iPhone, I don't know how functional it would be to try to do estimating, you know, unless you're like, I don't know, a tenth the size, you know what I mean, that this becomes your monitor.
One thing definitely to consider, Mike, would be as you're getting into the on-screen, you'd want to obviously have a larger monitor. You asked me, hey, do you have this giant monitor? You would definitely want a larger monitor. And a good video card makes a big difference if you're doing on-screen stuff because it is very graphics intensive, especially if you're handling a lot of pages.
Oh, so if you're going to buy hardware, you want to make sure that it's
good graphics card, memory.
You do a lot of pages, a lot of it. Bill,
Yeah.
what about your software system? Is video graphics driving all hardware? Is it like almost anything will work be fine?
Yeah, pretty much any computer nowadays is fine.
For yours. But Brian, what you're bringing out is that you might need to ask for hardware on some of the software systems. Bill's is kind of like kind of get you started, kind of probably do good if you're going to be doing a couple $1 million a year in business. But when you start doing larger 200 pages, you want to start automatic symbol recognition. There's a lot more involved. Then make sure when you get with the different vendors to verify what kind of hardware do I need. Well, anything can work. Yeah, but I understand that anything can work, like anything can work. But what would be that's going to give me the best performance? Okay, that's what you need.
And again, that's what I was saying. I mean, any computer is going to work fine with it, you know. But
right.
Listen, you don't have to click and sit there for 20 seconds waiting for it to think about what it's doing. You just want it to happen. So, you know, call the software vendor and say, hey, how much RAM do I need? You know, as far as the rest of the hardware, maybe a video card. It's about all you need to consider for estimating software.
Cost of software. Brian, you've gotten a lot of different software systems.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you know the ranges that you've seen?
paid anywhere from $1,200 to we had one suite that was about $7,000. So, I mean, there's definitely a broad range there. And one thing I would say to anybody out there is don't buy a dump truck if all you need is a pickup. You know, get some software that is going to meet your needs. It's very easy when you start getting into technology to bury yourself and make it too difficult to use. You know, Bill's software is great. That's why I like Quantum. I'm a medium-sized contractor. I'm not a huge guy. You know, we bid bigger jobs, but I don't have 500 employees.
Well, are you better off paying $1,500 for something that's the pickup truck, okay?
Yep.
And then as your business gets bigger and you ultimately need a dump truck, then just to realize, okay, I paid $1,500 for the pickup truck, I'm going to buy the dump truck. Or do you want to buy the dump truck because maybe someday I'm going to need a dump truck?
Sure. Well, I would say don't buy the dump truck. And I'll tell you what a lot of them offer, and this is pretty much true across the board. It doesn't matter if it's Quantum or AccuBid or McCormick or whoever it is. You can usually buy the bidding estimating portion separate from all these other modules. And so maybe you're $1,500 now. And then maybe there may be another module that you want to add later, maybe a different type of module, and you'll have to pay another $1,000 here and $1,000 there. So it's not likely that you're going to go out there. Well, I mean, you could, but and spend $10,000. You're better off to get what you need for right now, and then, like you said, as you go, it's cost of doing business. And something else to remember too, and I don't know if Bill mentioned this or not, but you're typically going to have some sort of subscription that's going to go with that. That's either going to pay for your pricing updates or your software support and updates, that type of stuff. And it varies between different vendors, what you're going to pay and what you get for what you pay.
What have you found on subscriptions that you have to pay? And how is it monthly? Is it annually?
You can do it a number of different ways. Annually is usually less expensive for the year than monthly is. The subscriptions are critical because you don't want to have to manually go in there and update your pricing.
Are we talking pricing? Or are we talking about?
Well, pricing and support. Here's the nice thing: if you have support, usually it's a package deal. If you have the support,
so
you'll
it's a
get the
subscription
pricing.
which handles
Right.
pricing and support. Okay, it's not separate. Okay,
Right. And typically, if you have the subscription, if you have that little question, hey, you know what? Listen, I've had this on-screen takeoff for a year and a half, and I've never touched it. You know, Michael's had TurboBid for a year and a half, and he's never touched it. And I don't know how to use it, and I got a question. Well, if you've got support, it's no problem. You call in, you know, and you get your free software updates. Windows 7 comes out, and you got a new computer, and if you don't have support, you're not just necessarily going to have this flawless reinstallation. So it's definitely a good consideration.
Bill, what is it for? Because you're, you know, not that you're representing the industry, but at least we get an idea of how do you handle subscription and updates, annual updates, or, you know, how does that work out?
You know, and keeping your software up to date is crucial because software developers, they're always adding new features. You need to.
That's right.
So in the past, we used to create a new version about every year, a major new version. And most software programs, I believe, operate on that premise. And they would charge a reduced rate to their customers for the upgrade. We've broken away from that model to where we want our customers to get new features in real time. If we're adding a new feature today, I want my customer to get that today.
How do they know about that?
We have a auto update feature, so every time that you open up TurboBid, it actually is checking on our server to see if there's a new version available. If there is, it notifies them, it tells them what's included in the update, and they can choose to add it at that point.
What does it cost for that upgrade pricing? Is upgrading pricing, is it two different things or is it the same thing?
Well,
In your case.
in our case, it is separate.
Okay.
It is separate. We actually call it training, update, and upgrade program because we also include
Technical
live
support.
training.
Okay.
Well, live training, and we like to use the go to meetings to where, let's say, if you're my customer, you're in front of your computer, I'm in front of mine, we're on the phone. And we go through and we train. I want to make sure.
And I've done that. You've trained with me online
we have.
go to meetings, and I thought that was kind of cool.
It is neat because we're looking at each other's screen, and our biggest obstacle is educating our customers on how to access all of the features. It's a simple program.
Now, I'll talk more
but
about
it's
training
detailed.
later on, but what's it cost me?
Ours, we have it in 6-month increments. We don't want people to lock in for a year if they don't want to. So it's $150 for every 6 months.
$150.
That's it. So that's free live training, it's updates, it's upgrades. We're not looking to get rich out of it. We just want to take care of our customers
that's
with
nothing.
it.
All right, but what about for pricing? If I want to
Pricing, we try to keep that reasonable. We're at $12.95.
a month?
No, sir. I thought you meant the price for TurboBid itself. It's
No. I'm sorry, pricing. I meant if I want my pricing.
Oh, for material updates?
What's the cost of that? Material update pricing.
There's typically a service that's required for that, whether if it's supplied by. I think
so it's not you.
No, we either use pricing
if I want to update
services.
my pricing.
They can be free. We have a lot of major vendors, Graybar, Crescent, Rexel, that have developed price files for their customers that use TurboBid. And they're price files specifically for TurboBid. So they just email the price file to the customer. They simply import
Michael,
it.
how does Michael get his pricing and keep his pricing current? Well, what does he have to do?
If you want vendor pricing, you're going to have to get that from your vendor.
No, because I tell you what, we did some analysis, and we were working the residential commercial bid. And I got the local supply houses, including Home Depot, and I came up with all the different pricing. And then you gave me your pricing, and your pricing was right there.
Yeah, TurboBid comes with a national average, trade and target price. And then target is a national average the contractor can expect to pay for that material at their supply house.
Okay, so now I got that. Michael has that. Fine.
Yes.
How does he keep that updated in pricing? What does he have to do?
Currently, we have either trade service. You can get that from.
Okay, so you contact a pricing service.
Yes.
Okay, so
correct.
It's unrelated to you.
Well, for now.
Okay.
Next month, we are developing our own where people will be able to.
And what would that cost? What does a pricing service cost? Whether it's yours or trade service?
There again, we want to keep that down low, so we're thinking it will probably be somewhere $600 a year. We just want to be...
That's $50 a month. So a pricing service, is it about $50 a month?
Yeah, it's typically, and it's kind of across the board. You're typically going to expect to pay $700 to $1,000 a year for support and price updates. altogether.
And you're right.
Everything together is going to be about $700 to $1,000 a year.
600. So about $750. So you're talking probably about $75 a month.
But the amount of time you're going to save, and like you said, you know, he gave you prices and then you checked them and it was right there, and I'll tell you my experience across the board, and I've got the most experience obviously with the software that I'm using currently, but across the board my experience has been, as long as it's not big ticket items, they're right in there. I never use the database pricing for wire or for steel conduit or big orders of PVC. Listen, you have to get vendor request pricing on that stuff.
Now, Bill, is there a way for me to know in your software, and I'm assuming other software has this feature, what are the big ticket items so that I'm not going to sit there and kind of contact a vendor for wire nuts. So if I extend, is there a way for me to look at material costs and the extended cost?
Oh yeah, you can see all of the pricing. Really, one of the main things are commodity items as well. Right. Your copper wire, and it depends. I mean, we went through steel increases in the past. So there's certain things that you definitely want to make sure that you're doing regular updates with your vendor. That's what you're buying it from. You need to enter that into your program.
All right. I'm going to move on to technical support. I think every software vendor is very sensitive to technical support. So I think no matter who you contact, they've been in business a long time. Right?
That's actually not true.
I would hope that to be true.
I would hope it would be too.
Really?
One of the, matter of fact, the most expensive piece of software I've ever bought was the worst customer service experience I've ever had in my life with a piece of software, and is why I am not currently with that company. And what I will say is go online, do your homework, check the reviews on the software.
Definitely.
If everybody's saying they're great, then go through all the rest of this stuff and okay, great. If you go online and they've got hundreds of bad reviews, you're not going to be any different.
Where do you get something like
Just
this?
Google reviews for whatever software you're looking for.
Go on your forum.
Yeah,
on
go
your
on Mike
electrical
Holt
forum. You
Absolutely.
find all kinds of great comments like that.
Okay. All right, we'll move on now. Can I afford it? Michael, obviously, Bill, you guys are friends. You know, he's helping us. We're helping him. We're all working together as a team. But think about the guys that are in here that it's going to cost them, how much the software?
To purchase it outright at $12.95.
So it's going to cost you $12.95. You're going to have to spend some time learning it. It's going to cost you $750 a year. So it comes out $75 a month, let's just say, $75 a month. What are your thoughts about this? I mean, what are you thinking, the guys that are sitting there watching this DVD, what are they thinking? Do you have $1,500? I mean, do you have $75 a month? These are the tough business decisions that, and this is like the beginning of tough business decisions. Like, this is an investment. While you're thinking about that, I want to have Brian say something. Brian, were you going to say something?
Yeah, you know, Mike, this is where, kind of going back to that story where I told you, you know, I spent so long on the first one and now I can do them in an hour. You need to value your time, and this goes back to the beginning of this whole business management and estimating and the whole idea. How much is an hour of your time worth? And if you can do a bid in 25% of the time, that means in the same 4 hours you can put out 4 bids instead of 1 bid, and that increases your opportunity to get work by 4.
Well, another way to look at it is simply that, Michael, do you think you're making probably gross profit? I mean, we're not going to get into financial statements, but you're making probably somewhere, the typical guy is probably making about 30% gross profit. I mean, when I say 30% gross profit, that's covering overhead and it's covering profit. So if you sold $1,000, you're making $300. Of the $300, maybe $25 of the $300 that you're making, maybe $250 is covering overhead, and maybe $50 is profit. You follow what I'm saying? Sell a job for $1,000, you pay $700 material and labor direct costs, you got $300, you pick up some overhead and you get some profit. So if you make $250 profit, if you make profit and overhead $300 for every $1,000, you follow the logic? Well, if you sold a $5,000 job at 30% gross profit margin, that gets you $1,500. So if you got software for $1,500, if you can get $5,000 in sales for the rest of the time that you're in business, then it pays. Forgetting about the incremental cost of reducing time and reducing overhead, having the confidence. Just simply listen, I don't want to have all that other intangible stuff. I want to see the dollar. Well, if you sell $5,000, period, for the rest of your time in business, you make 30% gross profit margin, you make $1,500, it pays for the software. Do you think, and I don't want to put any words in your mouth, do you think that if you had software that you'd be able to get $5,000 in sales?
Yes.
I mean, you'd be able to get a job that you have enough time, you save time, you're organized, you're efficient, you're able to sell that one job. If you think that you could, now you got to realize, this also, we can go back up, all this back up. What are my options? So let's forget about what it costs. Let's just forget about what are my options? Okay, I can't do it manually. The spreadsheet's not going to happen. So I'm either going to be estimating it properly and know what it is, or I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to go back to what I've always been doing. If that's the case, then at least you've got the DVD and you got the book, you got everything to realize, okay, I'm happy with where I'm at, or you realize, no, I have to move forward. $5,000 in sales, all I need? Yes, just $5,000. And 30% of $5,000 gives me $1,500? Yep, and I'll give you. Wow. So that's another way to try to put it in perspective. Plus, the time that you're saving. You bid a job in 1 hour that had taken you 2 days. You get a job in an hour that's correct rather than like, I don't know what's going on. Software vendors. Let's get some names out here. I mean, names that I know of that I've heard for years. McCormick, AccuBid, Vision Software.
Yep.
Obviously TurboBid. There's a lot of guys that are not longer in business anymore. Which means it's
Quantum, Electrical Resources.
Electrical Resources has been around. My buddy Richard Javarian, we've known each other for forever.
Yep.
He's a good guy. I'm assuming he's still with that. Anybody else? Who else? What are the other vendors? Bill?
I believe
that are what national well-known vendors. Can you think of any?
Yeah, there's a number of them. Red Rhino is one.
Okay.
I believe there's a Hard Hat, if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken.
There's one called On-Screen Takeoff.
Yeah,
On-screen takeoff.
there's a number of them, and most of them offer a free trial.
Okay.
So it's easy enough to download a trial, play with it, and like we were saying, find one that fits how you estimate. Find
All right.
one that you have a comfort factor with.
TurboBid is the only software that has worked with us directly. So therefore, for sure his software follows the logic of the estimating book. And I'm not saying the other vendors don't, and they don't have to. But I'm just letting you know there is a little continuity between how I approach things and what I do and how Turbo. If you're going to be trying a trial version, why not try TurboBid as a trial version? It's only going to be $1,500 or $1,295 or what it's going to be. And then, of course, check the other ones as well. So these are all great guys. They all do a good job. Let's talk about training and support. We talked earlier, Brian, you're saying, not everybody is what you would have thought it to be.
Yep.
And I guess, one of the things that I'm trying to teach Michael is you get a gut feeling with people. You kind of test them. You call them up. We had breakfast this morning. We're going in a Cracker Barrel, and there's 6 of us. And so we thought, so she sets us up on a table, put 2 tables together, and it's kind of like rectangular. Well, they have round tables. And it's nice for the 6 of us getting ready for the recording to kind of talk, and we can kind of like in a round table. And I said, you know what? I said, I'd really rather, can we sit on the round table? And I'm like, wouldn't you want me to be coming in every morning and asking you to sit on the round table so that I can come back again? You made me feel like, okay. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it's a culture. If you call our company, and I'm pretty comfortable about this, and I would believe that if you ever call Mike Holt Enterprises, you're going to get a smiley face on the other side. They're going to put a smile on your face. They're going to be attentive to you. They're going to be appreciative that you called. You got to realize, if you call me, you're trying to give me money. I don't want to piss you off. I mean, if nothing else. I mean, if you haven't given me money, I'm not going to piss you off now. I mean, come on. I mean, give me a break. I mean, so, and not only that, but I don't even want to ever push you off, right? Because even if I get you money the first time, you might want to take a class again. You might want to get another course. You might want to buy another book. I mean, we might want to have a long-term relationship. I mean, if I buy software from a vendor, the vendor realizes it's not a one-time sale, right? You don't like sell one time, got his money, he's gone. It's a
Right.
long-term relationship.
Yes.
So when you call the companies, hear how they answer the phone. Hello, well, I'm sorry, he's busy right now. Well, if you want, and then the guy doesn't call you back. That fascinates me. I call someone to give them money, and they don't call me back. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I would be like on top of it. You call me about something, I'm there. What do you need? How can I help you? Of course, we'll take care of you. So watch how, if you start calling other vendors, see how the process goes. Ask questions. See if they're honest with you. See if they're going to be able to give you the support. Like you said, try the trial period. That's a good time to find out what kind of technical support you're going to get. See how, are you important? Are you really important to that customer? Do they make you feel like you're important? Anything else on training and support, guys?
I don't know. Bill, did you mention that you have this software available by subscription also?
We do offer a subscription. We understand, I mean, I've been a contractor, and I know it can be trying at times, and cash flow can be an issue. So we decided to offer a subscription.
Subscription meaning what?
It means that for $297, you can subscribe to the software for 3 months, full version. Try it out.
I do it. I try it out. I go to the evaluation. And I said, okay, yeah. Now, does the evaluation allow me? Does it limit to me when you get these? What do you guys call these? These are
Demos.
these demos.
Version.
These demos. Do they allow you to bid a job or not really? They just allow you to see what it looks like.
Ours is fully functioning.
So why don't I just buy a demo and not buy anything from you?
Well, it's limited to 14 days. So after 14 days, it will stop working.
Can I backdate? Can I set my computer back to date?
No, it's pretty difficult to do.
Really? I just go in. I'll show you how I can do it. I can go in there.
But to us, it's important that it is fully functioning. You can't just limit it to 10 items.
So now I get 14 days, and if I go with the subscription, I pay $295 for 3 months.
Correct.
What happens at the end of 3 months?
You can either renew your subscription or just let it go.
And if I let it go, what happens? And I try to go on to the fourth month?
It won't work.
It doesn't work.
No.
How long can I keep doing a subscription?
As long as you want. Indefinite.
But what about if I do it for 2 years?
That's fine.
But I could have bought it from you for $12.95.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just some people
Are you
don't
gonna-
want to commit to
Yeah,
that
but
$1,300
is there a point that if I
upfront.
give you enough subscription for enough time that you're going to then I get the system without having to do subscriptions forever?
I'm sure we could work something out.
I'm thinking, how about after I pay twice the amount of money? You know what I mean?
I'm sure we could work something out.
Okay, all right. But you're saying, hey, listen, there's this subscription. So a person wants it, but he can't pay the $12.95. At least go with the $2.95 and
Right.
get your stuff started, and then decide, okay, we'll do something.
Right, and the support feature too. Software it does take a learning curve how to access things.
You're right.
So-
That $2.95, you really need that up front, all the training that you have to provide.
And we provide unlimited training. We do like what we're talking about with the GoToMeeting. And a nice feature that we put in there is we have a live chat button within the software. So if somebody's working on an estimate and say, "Ooh, how do I do this?" Hit the live chat. Talk to our technical support.
Now you also have
department.
video. You have a link for videos on specific functions.
We have a huge video library, and it's actually me walking through the program and explaining how to do things. A lot of people want to be able to be guided through the processes, and they want to do it on their own time. So the videos, they can watch them any time of the day, pause them, rewind them, watch
And that's
them
part
again.
of this DVD. I don't know if we can put DVD. Anyways, we're going to have the demo that's going to be available for a person to be able to do this.
Yeah, and even I'm sorry, even if they don't have any inclination to purchase our program, that's fine. Take a look at the videos, because the videos really will reinforce everything that you've been teaching, because we do follow your procedures.
But also, if somebody takes your evaluation or your demo and they go through the whole thing, they're going to get an understanding how software works. They might decide,
Absolutely.
you know what, I want to go with AccuBid.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's not, you know, I mean, that's just so going through the demo for TurboBid gives you an idea about software, and then it's just the little tweaks how each individual company does it. Brian, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, one thing that I've noticed, and over using several different pieces of software, probably the best part of my education has been all the different how-to videos in all of the different companies, and most of those are accessible without the software. You can go to their website and go to their help or how-to tab, and watch the videos, and that might be just enough. I mean, Bill, can they get to your videos without
They
the
can.
software?
They're on the website
So
as
you
well.
can really get a real good feel for the software before you ever make the commitment to make a
Yeah,
purchase.
but you got the demo in this whole package here. You got the demo,
Sure.
the videos are right on the when you install it, so that's good there.
But like Brian is saying, they do have the opportunity to get a good feel for the program before they decide to make that commitment, and so they know what they're getting.
All right,
That's
I think,
important.
Michael, is there anything that you can think of that you or anybody else watching DVD would be, wow, about software or anything we talked about the last 2 DVDs?
No, I can't.
All right, now, we're done with the program.
Wait,
You have a question?
yeah, weren't we going to do like some kind of takeoff with a commercial bid or property?
You know, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought
or
that up.
residential?
We had considered before we recorded the DVD that we do a residential bid, do a commercial bid, but going through the process as a team here, I know you weren't part of the decision, is that it doesn't serve a purpose for us to sit down now and go through and do all over again and spend maybe 4 hours on a DVD on the commercial takeoff. But let's just review it. You got to take off the lights, the switches, the receptacles, the low voltage. You got to take off the feeders. You got to take off the gear. Once you take off, then you got to get your bill of material. Then you got to price it. You got to labor. You got to extend it. You got to total it. Then you got to transfer the price. So the mechanics. However, what is in the book, there is a set of commercial plans, and there are questions like, okay, how many of these fixtures are in there? How many of these lights? And then it will. If you answer the questions, you're going to go that way. Now, Bill will have the residential plans as well as the commercial plans. I'm sorry, not the plans, but the bids in TurboBid already. So you can kind of like take the blueprints, and then you could look at the TurboBid examples and see how they were placed in there, and you could even actually do the TurboBid and use it as a sample. So we're not going to do that on the DVD, okay? Because it's just like we're becoming redundant. We want to get stuff that's new and not commercials different.
Okay.
Any last comments for anybody? Because I think we're done here. Well, guys, thank you. I appreciate that. And I hope that we put the whole thing in perspective. We're not trying to sell anything here. We're trying to educate you. We want you to decide, however, what's important, where you want to go, what do you want to do. Are there some people watching this realizing, you know what, you kind of talked me out of being an electrical contractor? Probably not a bad idea. I honestly, running a business, I don't care if it's a flower shop, a restaurant, a lawn service, and especially service work like electrical contracting and the economies and all the variables and employees and the federal government and the state government, the city, the counties, and licensing and everything. And it's overwhelming. But some people have that passion inside, and they say, listen, that's what I want. And I'm going to do what I got to do. And I'm going to study, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to screw up. But I'm going to get better, and I'm going to make different mistakes as I grow. But that's what I want. And for those that want that, you have a couple of levels you can go to. One, listen, I just want to do service work. Somebody calls me, hang a fan, fix a pump motor, do a couple simple things. That's all I want to do. I'm not looking to hire anybody. Then you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Somebody else might say, you know what? I want to have 2 service trucks, or I want to do commercial work. So you decide what you feel comfortable with. And that's the most important thing is you need to have a sense of peace. Now, electrical contracting doesn't give you peace, but there are areas that you have to decide where you want to go. Michael, where you're at right now as a young man and young in the electrical trade, how do you think you handle stress?
Not very well. So anything that I can add into my life that would help reduce my stress, I am all about it.
What happens to you when you get stressful? What physically happens, and where does your brain go? What do you feel?
Well, I mean, I number one, I act inappropriate, unprofessional. I say things I act on emotions. I don't think clearly. I lose money because of scheduling because I'm all scatterbrained. It's
Do you
physically.
avoid things?
I avoid things. So I put things off, and then that causes more problems in the future, and then that's a whole other ball of stress right there. Yeah, it just adds more stress to more stress, and it's not healthy at all.
So then you end up shutting down.
Yeah.
Brian, you seem to be the kind of guy, I'm not going to say if you thrive on stress, but now, tell me about how you handle stress today,
Okay.
and then were you always that way? So how do you handle stress? You can see Michael. Michael just breaks down.
Right.
A guy says, I'm not going to pay you unless you do this. And Michael shuts down. Michael then avoids to call the guy. He doesn't go to the job. The guy's calling him. He doesn't call him back. He's all stressed out. Then the next person, he's overwhelmed. How do you handle stress today? Because, I mean, things are tough today.
They are tough. And this is a great question because I've gone through a huge change personally over the last probably 7 years. And just, it's been exponential as it's gone on. But, you know, right now, I wouldn't say I thrive on stress. I don't think anybody likes to have stress. It's not something that I go, man, what can I do to find more stress to add to my life? But at the same time, I am the kind of person that when stress comes, I have systems in place where I can deal with something and I know how I'm going to deal with it, and it encourages me to be much more aggressive and assertive in dealing with what I have to deal with. And I know that it's going to be over with and it's going to be packaged up a certain way. And so,
hold on, let me see. So right
excited.
now what I'm hearing you telling me is that you can see the big picture.
Right.
You have strategies.
Correct.
You have a plan.
Yes.
You actually mentally have imaged this. You've actually experienced this. You know how it's going to go, and you know what the different options are. You got your lawyer set up for this. You got this situation. So you are ready for the situation.
Right.
Today.
Right.
How about when you were like Michael?
When I was starting out, I definitely did not have all that stuff in place, and that was the comment that I made earlier about the confidence. You know, I didn't have, the experience, and some of this stuff can only come from the School of Hard Knocks, but a lot of it can come from education. A lot of it is go to seminars, go to classes, learn about your trade, learn about business. Probably one of the best things I ever did was started focusing on business. You know, having different people that were professionals and executives mentor me in how to deal with stress and time and everything else. In fact, you helped me some with the little time management stuff and prioritizing. You know, it's a package deal.
Well, you know what I'm hearing is, and I don't want to get off the topic. My point is this: know who you are. But what I'm hearing, Michael, and what I'm hearing from Brian and say myself, is, son, as you gain more experience, you have more confidence. Let's say collecting money. You haven't had much problem collecting money, right? Because you're not there yet. But Brian has had a lot of experience in collecting money. He has his lawyer. Do you know your lawyer's phone number?
I do. I have his business card in my wallet, 2 of them.
I remember going to situations, I talk to somebody, I say, tell you what, let me give you a number. Write this number down. ... And his name is this. And that's my lawyer. Call him. Don't waste my time anymore. And I had a guy tell me one time, it's kind of scary when you know your lawyer's number, when you know your lawyer's phone number. So I have confidence today in what I do because I've gotten educated. As you get software, as you know your materials, and this is an unknown. Once you get this thing, you're going to be growing. So right now, Michael's young in business. He doesn't have a lot of confidence. He has to be very careful what he's doing. So I'm not saying you should do anything in your business other than grow, educate yourself. Any final comments?
No, sir.
Okay. One thing is, Bill Ruffner, the guys that are watching this DVD, you give my guys 10%?
10% sounds good. It'd be an honor.
All right. So if you want to get Bill Ruffner, that's if you buy the software, whatever the price is. I mean, this DVD is whatever period of time. And he's not going to do it forever because this DVD is, we are in August of 2011, so you'll honor this through 2012?
Absolutely.
Okay. After that, you guys can talk to Bill after that. You can't say forever and ever and ever and ever. All right, guys. We are done. Thank you. And God bless and be successful.